is Jessica Webster.
And this is Sam Pogue of the Fitness Break Room podcast. Sit back, take a well-deserved break, and learn about the journey that helps shape the most successful fitness professionals in the industry today. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Fitness Break Room podcast. I'm joined today by the lovely Ashleigh Kast out of New York City, and founder and owner of Sophisticated Strength. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Sam.
Yeah.
This weekend's been great.
Awesome. Yeah, so Ashleigh came down, another one of the lovely ladies that joined us for the Jim Jones Women's Specific Seminar down here in Austin. And Ashleigh and I had the opportunity to connect in June when she attended the On Academy Foundation certification that I was teaching at CrossFit Wall Street. And from there, we've just been connecting and chatting and learning about what kind of programs she's trying to do and what the new projects she's got lined up. She's got a really awesome history in her fitness career, and I wanted to be able to help share her story with y'all and learn about what it takes to make it in this industry. So tell us about how you got going into fitness and what brought you into this career.
Totally. My journey's been all over the place, and it started out, I just didn't really know what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. So when I was going into college, I thought I was going to be pre-med. Like, I knew I wanted to be, like, somehow involved in athletics.
Okay.
Because I had a really good experience in high school. I was a cross-country track runner. And up until my senior year, like, we didn't really have anyone in our school who wanted to coach track.
Okay.
So they brought someone else in to coach track.
Cool.
And I didn't really understand at the time, like, how good we had it. Mm. He was a personal trainer, and he was kind of being mentored by this guy, Eric DeGotti. You probably know him. He, like, works with the Giants. He was one of the original instructors for FMS.
Okay.
So that's, like, how I got introduced to strength training, and I just loved it.
Not a bad entry point.
Yeah, like, we had no idea how good we
Right.
had it. Like, so we did really well, and then my senior year of high school, there was a teacher in the district who wanted the job, and we sort of, without throwing shade, we sort of ended up getting run into the ground. And so for me, that was some kind of life-changing experience. Like, I was like, wait, what do you know that's different than what this guy knows? I want to know that. Yeah. And so I went back to my old track coach, and we just stayed in touch. Mm-hmm. So from there, I knew I wanted to get involved in athletics somehow. So I started out with, like, sports medicine, and then that quickly changed. Then I decided I wanted to do, all right, athletic training. I want to be, like, in there a little closer, because this whole rehab, injury prevention thing is really interesting to me. And that changed too, because I started then eventually working for my mentor. Okay. And then, like, working for his boss, Eric. And so being on that side of things, you sort of got to see a little bit more into the industry. And I realized that I felt like I would have a better, like, influence if I were on, like, the strength coach side of things. Okay. So then I ended up going to exercise science. Mm-hmm. So it just kind of kept shifting as I figured out where I wanted to be. Okay.
And so so now let's flash forward, obviously, from the 21-year-old, like, I'm still figuring out my life, to later down the road, because we're not going to age you. But what is Sophisticated Strength, and what are you trying to do with it?
So Sophisticated Strength came about for two reasons. I mean, one is that my purpose, with having said that experience about, like, high school, and realizing very early on that there's so much information out there, and trying to make sense of it can be, like, really difficult. Mm-hmm. And having the experience that I did with, like, such high level intelligent training, I just felt like that should be everybody's introduction to training. And so Sophisticated Strength happened because, yeah, it's really cool that, like, right now I'm, like, in the city, and I've worked with, like, NFL athletes, and I've worked with celebrities, and really, like, super wealthy people. Mm-hmm. And, like, that allows me to have, like, a major effect on their lives, but, like, it's just not cost effective, and it's also not effective for what I want to do. I want to spread that the message of good training to more people, and so online seemed like the best place to do that. Okay. So it's two things. It's, like, what is going to get that message out further, and then also, as a coach, I'm starting to realize, and, like, I'll age myself. I'm going to be 30 this year. And I've been in the industry for over 10 years now, and it's hard, like training sessions like all day long.
Totally. Right.
It's physically draining, it's mentally and emotionally draining, and that hopefully will give me some kind of like freedom in there to break free of those sessions and then have some even like financial stability later on too, as that's like an issue in our field.
Totally. And, for a lot of you that are just probably getting into this field, when Ashleigh and I started, because we're the same age, I'll be 31 in 2 weeks, there wasn't the online realm. Instagram wasn't around. There wasn't a heavily influenced like online market. A few people were doing like online programs, like Joe DeFranco, who's a part of your past as well. Him and Smitty were doing like a lot of ebooks and online DVDs. I know DVDs, you may or may not know what those are, or have something that can play those. But it's like a little disc thing that plays movies. And they were doing that, and they were like one of the real first ones to really start putting their programs and stuff out there. This is like T-Nation was just kind of going, Westside really started to become popular, right, and come to fruition. Not that they weren't always there, because they were.
Yes.
But media has brought them to the surface. Like the iTunes store was just kind of coming out when we were getting into fitness, which makes me feel old.
Oh my God, how technology has changed.
Right. So now it's like, okay, so now we're in this spot where it's like, is there another option from training, right? Ashleigh just talked about it, and okay, I can train from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day, but what else? Like what's the end game from there? And so at some point in time, you have to diversify your offerings, because and some trainers, and some of you are going to want to do this, right? Some of you are going to want to just crush sessions and have a paycheck and have a cool atmosphere to do it. And then other times you're going to want to find something else that fulfills you as well. And we need both routes in the industry, wouldn't you say? So
absolutely. And our industry is so tough. I mean, it really does have like that grind mentality.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult because you feel like it's easy to get sucked into, because most times, well, especially when you're first starting out as a trainer, most companies, like, you're not going to get like a 401k. Like, I don't even know what that is. You know, like there's no benefits. There's no like long-term plan for you. Mm-hmm. And then again, like you're just cranking out sessions. A lot of times there's no like upward mobility from there. Like, what's the next challenge? Like, yes, I absolutely love working one-on-one with people every day. And I think like I will always have that. Yeah. Always. Like, there's not gonna be a time where I'm not training people one-on-one. But I want like another challenge. Yeah. It's time.
So you mentioned sophisticated strength is exposing people to good training. What does it mean? What does good training mean to you?
Good training to me is more about, I guess, meeting people where they're at. Okay. I think that right now the fitness industry has taken this turn, and especially in New York City, you see it. Everything is in that like boutique fitness, high intensity, like stress-filled realm. Mm-hmm. And I think that yes, there has to be that like in your training. There has to be hard days. There has to be intense days. But what about like medium and light days? Like, to me, like your strength is really building all that foundational strength is really like the meat and potatoes of your program. And then everything else that you do on top of that is your choice, but it's also like accessory in my brain. Mm-hmm. So trying to like rid people of that idea that like high intensity training is like it's the be all end all. It's what you should be doing no matter what your goal is. And then like also individualizing things again, because I think we've like lost that with the whole like class system. That's really big too. And everybody does have totally different needs. Like I find classes to be like a really stressful situation because I have like people coming in from like ClassPass, like you're familiar with ClassPass, and these people just kind of like drop into your class. So I'll have like my regular people see like every week. And then these ClassPass people who like you have no idea how they're going to move, like what they're capable of, where they've been. And that's very difficult to kind of like adjust on the fly, but it is so necessary to help people meet their goals. Mm-hmm. So bringing it back to that. Okay. So now for you, what are you doing? Like, you like to train people in person, right? But sophisticated strength is online. Yes. So what kind of projects are you working on there? So sophisticated strength started out, I mean, like mostly I was just kind of like building up some social media. I didn't even really like know what purpose I was. Yeah. I didn't even know that I was like going in a business direction, I would say. I was just like branding, because everyone else was doing it, right? Yeah. So I did that, and then I just kind of threw things at the wall and saw what stuck. So I started doing like one-on-one training, which lucky for me has like gone really well. I've had some like really good influencers in my life that I've been able to be like, hey, what do you think about this? And just making that system work. And then we started, there's no we anymore. It's just me.
I know, right?
It's just me. So
we're gonna go back to that, so keep in mind.
All right. So then I started doing like group coaching scenarios.
Okay.
So yes, they were like less individualized, but individualized towards whatever the goal was. So I've been running like 5K based programs as like, the qualities that everyone needs are pretty much the same, but there are differences by like what sport, who you are. And so that program was very like running specific. There was like, they were cookie cutter, but there were like beginner, intermediate, and advanced programs. And then kind of just like offering them a space, all of these people, like a community for them to, even though they weren't training together, but like talk together, connect together. And then now, so I'm working on like just like a standalone product kind of system. Not that I'm going to get rid of those things, but the product is like the next thing to throw at the wall and see if it sticks.
Totally.
So I started working with John Romanello, Roman Fitness Systems. And so we've been bouncing around the idea of like a mobility project. So he does like those like kind of standalone programs, right? It's like you get the program, you get your nutrition tips, your ebook, and you just buy that. They do these like 2-week launches where it's like a huge marketing push.
Okay.
And so he's been releasing products over the year. He was like one of those original guys on T Nation, right? Totally. Like, it's funny. I like remember like coming up and like reading his articles, like, oh my God. So now it's pretty good. Yeah, it's like, it's insane. So that's really cool. It's like very humbling and like, awesome. So as he's aging, his audience is aging too. So his programs have been very like bodybuilding, strength based, and he is super awesome at that. But, like if you train like an athlete, there are repercussions to that. And as we get older, you got to take care of these like mobility issues, these stability issues. Like you got to focus on those things more. So as he experiences things like aches and pains and aging, so is his audience. So I pitched to him like, all right, you've had all these like really awesome strength and bodybuilding programs. What about something that's going to like build these people like some foundational strength, build them some more mobility and stability? And it could even be like a beginner kind of program that you sell with any of your other programs, so that if someone's trying to enter your world, because his programs are very advanced, like they're awesome, but not necessarily for the beginner. And so this could be like a way for you to sell more products, to be a little more inclusive, like let, the beginner into your world and then progress accordingly.
What's up, everybody? Jessica here. Man, finding that perfect part of the show to cut in with a message is tough, but this seems like an okay place to do it. First off, friendly reminder, we have a video version of every show, which you can find at fitnessbreakroom.com. Secondly, you guys have been so supportive of the Break Room. With your help, we totally blew past our first goal of hitting 30 reviews. We're almost at 50 now, which makes us feel so grateful that we're a part of a community that proactively gives back to people like us. We're still hunting for that elusive, new, and noteworthy placement in iTunes. So if you haven't given us a written review yet, that would mean so much to Sam and I, and the rest of our guests, if you could take that several seconds out of your day to do that. I also thought it could be fun to publicly recognize our supporters. So if you have given us a written review, look out for a shout out on Thursdays at the end of our breakdown episodes. And if you send me a screenshot of your review, I'll give you an extra entry into our monthly fitness industry night giveaway, where Sam and I pick one subscriber to win hundreds of dollars worth of fitness swag every last Friday of the month. This month of December 2017 is a huge assortment of Onnit supplements and golden earbuds. You can see a list of the prize items and enter to win at fitnessbreakroom.com. Keep in mind, we're not paid by any advertisers for these giveaways. We are committed to only partnering with companies and people we love and trust. So the Fitness Industry Night giveaways are a direct thank you from us and our partners to you for being a part of a fitness community that's making the world a stronger place. So if you haven't entered to win, go to our website, fitnessbreakroom.com, to do that. And you can email me your screenshot at jessica@fitnessbreakroom.com, or you can hit me up on Instagram at jessicawebster_. Okay, that's it for me. Enjoy the rest of the show, and thanks so much in advance for your reviews and your support.
Well, you'd mentioned earlier about that there's no we anymore, right?
Yeah.
So now you have sophisticated strength. You're on your own.
I
Right? There's
am.
no team supporting you.
There's no team anymore.
Where have you been? Where have you worked? Because I think a lot of people are like, oh, I want to go out on my own. And now the days where, oh, I just learned how to do a back squat, and now I'm trying to write an ebook on how to do the back squat. And it's like, that's great, but like we've been in this game a few years playing and getting smacked in the face a couple times. So
yeah.
where have you been? Right.
I have been all over. So when I first started personal training, and that was like, again, like goes back to like the high school thing, and I was in college and I wanted a good side job. So I basically just did like my NASM online cert. It was online by that time though.
Oh, wow. That's big time. Internet was around, not even dial-up.
Yeah. I mean, you still had to put like a DVD into
Oh,
the computer,
gotcha.
you know.
Yeah, you didn't have to use your
CD-ROM.
AOL disc. That was like 200 free hours of AOL. Okay.
Oh my God. So I did that, and then I was like, cool, I'm a trainer. And then I got on the floor and I was like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So that was like a terrifying experience for me, but luckily, like I had Mark Leibowitz, like that was my track coach, and he was working for Eric Degati at the time.
Okay.
And Eric was nice enough to be like, hey, you know, like if you ever have any questions, you like run into some obstacles, like shoot me an email, come on up to One Human Performance in New Jersey, and we'll talk.
Okay.
So I totally took him up on that because I just felt like I had no idea what I was doing.
And where were you at the time?
So my first job was at a fitness and wellness gym. So we have like this corporate chain of gyms in New Jersey that are sort of affiliated with different hospitals. It's all the same company. So I was working there and had my NASM, and then I got influenced by someone who was an RKC.
Okay.
So RKC was actually like the first, like, I would say it was like the first real cert I did. You know, it was like the first place where I like went off and like learned something and was like, all right, this is applicable. I can do something with this.
And for those who don't know, RKC is...
So RKC is the Russian Kettlebell Challenge, like the original. Yeah, now we're dated because there was only RKC then.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
2009, there wasn't any other option.
Right.
So now you have like all these other ones, but they're all pretty much similar and they're all great if you're thinking about hardstyle kettlebell. I think it was a great entry point because they're so good at teaching you like how to cue people, how to troubleshoot, and those are the things that you don't really get out of like your CPT certs.
Yeah. Right.
So that was great because that's stuff that's like applicable on the floor, teaching you how to like talk to people and how to get like quick changes that you want.
Yeah.
So then I started going up to Montville to One Human Performance and talking to Eric. And then I decided that I wanted to coach track. So I wanted to like learn more about track and field. So I did some track and field certs. Like I got my USATF level 1.
Cool.
And then that was the year that actually, so like, not that I know too much about this story, but I think like the LSU track coaches were sort of like running the show for USATF education. And then that was the year that they like went renegade and they started their own, I don't know, company, organization. So that was like USATF CCCCA. There's a lot of C's in there. It's like their coaches in college cross country coaches association. So then I did my level 2 with them. And that was like an intensive, like 7-day cert. And it was super intense. It was like 8 a.m. to like 10 p.m. every day. Yeah, we had to like submit projects, group projects, and then you had practicals. And it was an amazing experience though. So that was really cool. So I sat down with my old track coach. I was like, this is the stuff I've done, but I've never coached track before. Like, give me something. Like, let me absorb something from you. And he was like, you did all this stuff already? Like, do you want a job? I think we're hiring. And I was like, yeah, I do. I totally do. So went back, talked to Eric, and he was like, yeah, let's do this. So then the next thing I did was FMS because Eric teaches for FMS. So hung out there, started kind of like almost like observing first. So I watched a whole bunch of sessions, did my FMS, learned from Eric and Mark, and then I was free to go on the floor and I started working at One, which is awesome because Eric also... It was a lot of like athletes performance kind of stuff. Okay. It was funny. I think we were always like down the street from like DeFranco's gym.
Right.
And we actually shared like a lot of the same clients, but we were sort of like the coming from the FMS realm, like the resiliency kind of people.
Right.
So they'd go like down to DeFranco's for like their performance stuff, and then they'd come to us for that, like, let's put you back together, let's make everything feel work nice kind of stuff.
Own your space, do what you do well.
Yeah.
But value what each other does.
Exactly, totally. You need all of those things. Like when you're an athlete, like you need a guy for everything, and that's just taking care of business.
Yeah.
So that was a fantastic experience, like being around that all the time. So from there, then I moved out to Salt Lake City, and I was going to like CrossFit, a CrossFit gym, getting involved like a little bit further with the Strong First Worlds. That was something that didn't really pan out very well.
Yep. Shit happens.
Yeah, you know, and you're gonna run into this without like, I don't want to like talk anything bad in this, but you have to know that like in the fitness industry, you're gonna deal with egos. A lot of the fitness industry, like it's derived out of like insecurities and like egos. So you're gonna experience that as you go along, and it's something that you gotta like be prepared for. So, so that was like a good run in there. I ended up coming back to New Jersey and had no idea what I was gonna do. There wasn't like a backup plan at that point. So
and there's no manual for this game to like.
No.
Okay, next I do this.
Yeah, so I had no time. I was like, what am I going to do? So I did two things. I was like, all right, I've lived like 15 miles outside the city my entire life, and I've never like tried my hand at the city. So
the city's New York for all of you that don't know.
I mean, the city.
The city
is New York. there's no city like New York.
Oh, okay. A true New Yorker.
Oh, totally. So I started working there. Like I was an independent contractor at a small gym. I just started taking hours there. They had no female on staff. They're like, we need a female trainer. So I was like, all right, cool. And then I also just decided to like walk into DeFranco's. I'm like, you know what? You guys have been down the street the whole time, and I never came here either. So that was funny. I like walked in there and I was like, listen, I need a job. And they were like, we're not hiring. And I was talking to like Mike Wadango at the time, who is awesome, really great resource. And I slapped down my resume and I'm like, what about this though?
Yeah.
Like, are you hiring? And he's like, nah, no, but we're really not hiring yet. And I was like, I can train women. And he was like, oh, chicks. Yeah, okay, we're hiring.
Which inevitably gets more dudes.
Yes. So I think, and at the time too, I mean, like DeFranco's like a unicorn in New Jersey because they were getting by on only training athletes, and like that's really like unheard of because New Jersey, especially like that kind of like warehouse space that you're looking for that kind of situation is insane. Like the rent is just as crazy as say like New York City, and it's also very difficult to find. Okay. So to make a business run like solely off of athletes in New Jersey is like super impressive. So I think they were looking to like kind of like diversify their clientele. So like bring in women, but like also just like regular people. And like, you know, women is a good way to do that. Right. So we started like a boot camp, and then we had like some designs on coming out with like an ebook and stuff like that. And then I, again, don't totally know the story, but DeFranco started talking to On It.
Who we're at here.
And then he ended up like kind of basically picking up all the equipment and like moving it here, right?
Yeah, we bought it. Yeah,
it's
we bought
so
the DeFranco's
crazy.
Gym.
Like we were working out on the equipment this weekend, and I was like, oh my god, last time I lifted on this platform, it was in New Jersey.
Yeah. It all comes back around.
Oh my god, it was awesome. So then I'm just having these hours in the city. And I'm like, what am I going to do? So I'm still in like this like transitional phase. And Charlie Weingroff was also someone who was always like a resource for me.
Cool.
So when I was in New Jersey, like he still had hours in New Jersey. By this time, I think he was like mostly in the city already. Like he was working at this place called Drive 495. And I had like a little bit of a lower back issue thing going on. I was like, I don't care what it is. I'm going to go into the city and I'm going to come and see you. So I go to see Charlie Weingroff, and he says to me, like, what happened? I thought you were in Utah. Like, you were going to do this thing with Strong First and all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, you know, it didn't work out. And he's like, well, do you need a job? And I was like, wait, do you mean here? Like, Because Drive 495 has like some kind of reputation, right? And especially Charlie Weingroff. Like Charlie Weingroff says, you want a job. You're like, can I start yesterday?
Right, exactly, yeah.
You'll let me work here? So then I ended up at Drive 495.
Nice. And now you ventured out on your own again to look for a new project.
I have.
And so what's your goal going forward? I mean, yeah, you want to make sure that good training comes to the market, and you're trying to do some, you get the new project with Rome, and you do a lot of running coaching and personal training still. So having said all these new adventures and the licks that you've taken in the market, right, it's really given you a really good shape in terms of what's out there and what you want to do.
Oh,
so
totally.
Has that helped identify where you fit, and also what personally fulfills you, right? Because you can go crush sessions somewhere. That's not a big deal, right? But what is it that you're hoping to make your mark on, I guess?
What do I want to make my mark on? I mean, and right now, to be honest, I'm sort of like kind of figuring that out because the plan has shifted, right? Like leaving Drive, I wasn't just training sessions at Drive. I was working with 2 other people on like a much bigger project. It was an online project, and that was really taking up all my time and energy. So like there was really nothing going towards sophisticated strength because I physically had 0 time and I physically had 0 energy for it. Everything was going into that. So being like sort of blindsided like that, I kind of like woke up the next day and I was like, oh God, I'm here again. Like, what am I gonna do? Yeah. But luckily for me, because I've made like pretty good contacts on my way up, like I am insanely lucky, like having had that experience in high school, because there was no time for me where I was like, in a bad spot, where I was like learning from someone who didn't know what they were doing or anything like that. There were really no bad experiences. So I learned like really early on the power of making sure that whatever place that I worked at, I was going to learn there and I was going to get something more out of it. And so I've always kept up relationships with those people because we've become like part of each other's like families, and these are my mentors. These are people who brought me up. So it was funny, like wake up the next day after Drive and I'm like, what am I going to do? And I was like, wait a second, I actually have like a ton of stuff to do. Now I just have time to do it. And it was funny, like the universe kind of worked like very mysteriously, and like things just sort of happened in that 2 weeks. Things just started to fall into place. But it was only because I've been in this industry so long and I made good on like all the opportunities that were ever handed to me. And that's what's so important. Like, yeah, the education is like one thing, but like you're going to learn everything you need to know like on the floor, and you're going to learn it from people. And so like making those contacts and making sure that you're working in a place that you're going to learn that stuff, where you're going to be driven, is like super important. So with that, I mean, I've always been a runner, like back to high school again.
Right.
So that's always been something that's like I'm super passionate about. And like what goes into that, what runners are really missing when it comes down to it. And so I just started like working on a quick like program that I'm going to launch in a couple weeks. That'll be like a standing product before this like bigger, we're calling it loosely Mobility for Bros project comes out.
Cool.
Just to kind of like start that conversation a little bit more and see what the market responds to. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that. And then the Mobility for Bros thing. So again, it's just sort of like, I do love everything. Like anything that I am interested in, I want to go try it. I want to go immerse myself in it. I want to go do it. So I've like power lifted, I've bodybuilded, trained like a sprinter, trained like an endurance athlete. I want to do it all. But I want to do it the right way. And so I'm not necessarily sure that I'm going to like pigeon myself into like, hey, just running, or hey, just this mobility stuff. But like bringing that intelligence and simplicity, because simplicity is really important to me too. Right. That's where the sophisticated strength name comes from, like a Rick Ross song, honestly. So sophisticated. But also because sophistication is like simplicity. And when you're talking to people, like especially like just lay people, right, like your clients, like you want to deliver things like super simple. You don't need to like go over the top. It's like about communicating effectively, teaching them simple things that are going to have like a huge impact, and really like that, kind of like least amount of effort to the biggest amount of return kind of idea. And so that's what I'm trying to bring to like all of my programs, whatever they are.
And so, I mean, how does that work then for like, a lot of brands and we've talked about before, you and I, and also another podcast, and is that kind of identifying who you want to work with. So how do you balance that? Like, okay, like I don't want to just be seen as a runner. I don't want to just be seen as someone who can train females. And I don't want to just train powerlifters or bodybuilders or movie stars. Like, how do you balance all of that, and how do you make sure that you are looked at in that light with all of those communities?
That is a very good question, Sam. and maybe I will need you in a couple of weeks to help me figure that out. Because I'm not sure, I think part of the message too, though, is that you should like diversify your training. Like we talk even like in the athlete realm, like about like the importance of like not specializing early. Right. And that has like really started to like positively change how we recruit and stuff. And it's awesome. But I think it's the same with like regular people, like because a lot of us train like athletes anyway. And like, you should try everything. You should train all of these different qualities. Right. Like, you should be super strong, but you should also have like a really good heart, and you should also be able to move really well. Like, these are all the things that encompass health and fitness, not just whatever sport.
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, so let's look at this. So I came from like the powerlifting realm and the weightlifting realm, and it was like, I don't do cardio. Sam is, and I make this joke all the time, I'm built like a South Park character. There is no like me going and doing like aerobic capacity, going on a 5K.
I mean, I saw you doing it yesterday.
Well, it's a once in a movie. And I'm sitting here and my legs are literally so sore that they don't want to move. So I'm trying to like fidgeting more than I usually do because I'm trying to get comfortable. We're both real sore. So like, okay, let's find a comfortable position because, oh shit, that hurts. But like I would have never done cardio. So how did you get inspired to go test all these different realms? Like, you ran, you've done shows, you've done powerlifting. Like, those are all very different. They're all like, I'm a runner, and that's how I associate value. I'm a powerlifter. I'm a bodybuilder, and don't do what they do because that's fucking stupid. And if you're a runner, like that's ruining your gains. Yeah. So what was your inspiration to do all four of those, whatever you've done?
Well, there's two things. Like, the way that I was brought up is that you take something from every system. Like, there's always something positive from every system. And so I have like buckets, like I don't subscribe to like one system. Like I've been referred to before as like an FMS person, but I don't think I'm an FMS person. I use it. Yeah. But I also use a whole bunch of other tools. And so I think that's important, like having a really big arsenal, because you don't know who's going to be in front of you, and you want to be able to like adjust on the fly. You want to like know how to train everything possible. And then the other thing is like I've had interests and my clients have had interests. And I am a big proponent of like, you should not be coaching things that you don't understand. And part of understanding something is having done it. Yeah. So like, I was coaching track, and like we had like a garage like just full of equipment because like I was coaching track at like a parochial school, all girls, and they had like a big budget, so they just had like all this equipment sitting around. I'm like, why aren't we making use of this? Right. So I went out and I learned to long jump and I learned to pole vault. Yeah. Oh my God, that was so scary. Yeah, horrifying. And then I had a client at one who was like, I want to do a bodybuilding competition. I was like, theoretically I understand how to do that, but I haven't done it. So let me do that. Yeah. And I think that's super important. Like, it's the difference between like knowing something and like really knowing something. Yeah. So actually right now it was funny. Like yesterday I was thinking like, I've done a whole bunch of like running cycles and stuff like that, but what else do I want to learn about now? Because now I have some time. I'm like, what's the next thing? I gotta get like a client in who's like, hey, I want to do that.
Like obstacle course racing. Or
totally. But it's like crazy. Like you can take like principles from like learning how to long jump, and that translates into your session with the same woman who's like trying to bodybuild. It just, you just know more.
Good information shouldn't displace good information, and that's something that we really try to preach here on it. And I think it's really cool. What I love about your story is that you've had so many different opportunities in the market and touched a lot of different people, and you're still a student of the industry. Like, you're still continually finding your way. A couple knocks on the jaw, a couple wins, a couple trophies, and it's still like it's still something you're here. Like,
Yeah.
Like as every person enters this industry, like it's not easy.
No.
Right? And if you're consistently finding success, you're probably not on a long-term career path. I'll just tell you that right now. Like this is a really hard industry, and I'm sure Ashleigh would welcome your questions and advice to be able to reach out and like learn, because it's things that we've battled.
Yeah.
So what's a piece of advice you would like to give every brand new trainer or coach getting into the industry? Like day one, they want to, it was you, right? You just got your NASM and I'm on the floor and you're like, fuck, I don't know what to do. So what's your nugget that you want to share with them?
Well, back to that other part, like, yeah, like just like you want to like train all your athletes to be resilient above all else. Like that's your number one goal when you have athletes, just make them resilient. It's the same about like you trying to like armor yourself up for this industry, because you will take those hits. It's just inevitable, especially as a female. Like that's probably a whole other conversation.
For sure.
But I guess like the best advice that I would say, like I was lucky enough that like no one ever had to tell me this, because I was just around it. But like find yourself a really good mentor, like that stuff is really the most important, because that's the knowledge, that's the experience, that's like that like right now applicable know-how that you need. And that person is not only going to teach you better like how to train clients, but also like help you grow, like point you to like whatever your next like education journey is, point you to like your next career. Like that's how you're going to get a job. You're going to get a job by who you know. And then just be your support system, because like we said, like you're going to take some hits in the jaw, and like you want to make sure that you've got like a good support system around you, like someone who can be like, oh my God, Eric, I can't believe this happened, like what should I do? So that's really important, to have someone there to like build you up like that.
Well, and you were lucky enough to kind of stumble upon your mentor, right?
Yes.
At track practice, more or less.
Yep.
Right. But you have other mentors in the industry. Obviously, that's the main one. So how do you get a mentor? You just reach out. Ashleigh, can you mentor me? Or is there a process to do it?
Yeah, I mean, you just gotta like be authentic. I know that sounds like so silly, and I almost like hate the word because we throw it around in this industry so easily now, but like just be yourself, be curious, like find someone who is doing stuff that provokes questions out of you, that excites you, and then you can reach out to that person wherever their like contact information is available.
Perfect.
Like it's always good to like grab people in person, but like the beauty of like having social media and like this whole internet age now is like you can reach out to anyone anywhere. Like we had a kid at Drive, John O'Neill, who's a fantastic trainer right now. Like number one, he interned with Michael Ramphone and Eric Cressy, and now he's with MLB. So that's like
he went to Arcata Boston, I think. Right?
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Who's he with?
Minneapolis.
Very cool. Very cool. And Mike Ranfone and Eric Cressy, if you guys aren't following those guys, Mike's a very good friend of mine. Eric, I've chatted with on Instagram. And
Ranfone is amazing.
Ranfone's one of my favorite individuals. So
yes,
we'll get him on soon too.
Business and training. Like he had us, like the whole staff at Drive 495 up to his place one time. And I was just like, just keep talking. I love what you're saying. Like, I feel like you guys, your principles are all like totally in line with each other.
Love Mike. Yeah.
But so like number one, like John was through those connections like got that amazing opportunity with MLB. But like also I remember him telling me a story about Dan John. So he said like, I just emailed Dan John, and like Dan John like called him on the phone, was like, hold on, like, hey, what's up? So you never know, and like I can't speak to like anybody else, but I know that anytime someone comes to me saying like, hey, what should I do? I'm looking for advice. I'm like excited about it. I'm like, ask me questions, call me, whatever you need. So chances are, if you are kind of like looking at the right people, you're going to find people who are like ready to connect with you and ready to help you.
Perfect. So with that being said, where do people find you? How can you be a mentor for them?
So it's my name. So Ashleigh at sophisticatedstrength.com. So you can email me. You can also find me on Instagram. My handle's Ashleigh Kast, same on Facebook. Those are all great ways to reach out to me.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us. It was a true pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks again for listening to the Fitness Break Room podcast, everybody. You can follow us on Instagram at Fitness Break Room. And if you're looking to enter our monthly fitness swag giveaway, You can visit our website, fitnessbreakroom.com, and all that info's on the homepage. Hundreds of dollars worth of awesome stuff, so I wouldn't miss that. And then you can even subscribe to this podcast on iTunes and leave us a review if you're digging what we're bringing you. That would be awesome and very helpful. Okay, guys, have a beautiful week. Stay strong and always look out for the little guy.
I know to you, it might sound